Hi, I'd like to talk about we should vote this November. I think it's very important for us to vote, and we should believe in progressivism. I think that Trump is, not going to be on the working people's side. I think he's just going to give more money to corporations. Amazon.com is didn't pay their taxes last year. They excuse me. This the They didn't pay their taxes last year, and I strongly feel that we need to vote in progressive people, and I don't want to tell anyone who to vote for, but I strongly think I'm not a big Joe Biden fan, or I'm not a big um, Kamala Harris fan, but I think it's a good idea to vote for people who are willing to listen to progressives like Bernie Sanders and AOC and Ilhan Omar, who I'm very proud that she is my representative of my state. And I think we would want to do that. And I think Donald Trump is a dangerous person. I think he doesn't care about women. I don't think he cares about people of color like myself. I don't think he cares about the Constitution. And just because he's rich, and he has 30% of his Trump turds, I call them Trump turds, um, I think people need to kind of recognize that just because of that, he could get reelected, and he can get reelected by cheating. He can have Russia collude in our voting process, like he did in 2016. Um, he could cheat just like G.W. Bush did. The mailing votes are awful. I think we should have a right to vote, especially during a pandemic. We should have a safe ballot, sending our ballots to through mail. But the thing is that we are the people, and I hope that during this pandemic that people kind of think and realize that maybe we should be progressives. And my dream is to have the biggest voting turnout that we've had in a long time, and that we the people um, can make a difference rather than um, stay. Well, I meant you know using the ballots and sending them in. You know, and so it's very important for the American people to come together and to vote in November, and to kind of consider the issues of the day. There are a lot of people who are losing their houses. There was one woman that was in Memphis um, who had COVID, and she just came home from the hospital, and all her furniture was out in the front yard, and police everywhere was trying to escort her out of her house, and she didn't know anything about why she was being kicked out of her house, and why she was because she just had COVID. She just came out of the hospital, and a lot of these things are going to happen. Trump doesn't care about you. Trump does not care. Trump is he's mentally not together. He's got a lot of issues. He's a totalitarian dictatorial person who only has 30% of his Trump turds, I call them Trump turds, that will be willing to vote for him. And the Trump turds are people who have watched Fox News for many years, and even before Trump ran for office, they've been watching Fox News, and they watch Alex Jones, and they read Breitbart, and they believe in these extreme right-wing conspiracies. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people like them that believe in QAnon. They believe in all this crazy stuff. And I think the good thing about this is that these people are 30% of the population, and the rest are the good people. And it's great that the good people have always been the majority, and they've always do the right thing in the end, and we need to vote Trump out. And yeah, Biden and Harris, they're not perfect, but at least they're willing to listen to a Bernie Sanders. At least they're willing to listen to AOC and Ilhan Omar, who is a representative of my state, and I'm very proud of, and I'm going to vote for her again. But at least they're willing to listen to them, and we can, as progressives, put their feet in the fire, and at least that Joe Biden would take this pandemic seriously, and to wear a mask should not be a political issue. It's a health issue. It should never ever be a political issue, ever. And there are a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube who just have a total meltdown because they refuse not to wear their masks, and that's crazy. We shouldn't live in a society of that. We shouldn't live in a society that Trump is not wanting Dr. Fauci, one of the most respected scientists and doctors in the world, and he's been around since the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s, and he's not willing to let Dr. Fauci speak. And we need someone that would take the pandemic seriously. We're having the worst recession in a long time, which probably will lead to a depression. People are not working. People, I got a feeling as a person of color that there might be a race riot by the end of the summer. I got a feeling if Trump wins or loses, there's going to be a race riot. There's a lot of crazy, angry people who pretty much wants a race riot. They're against Black Lives Matter, and there are certain things about Black Lives Matter I don't like. There's certain things about Antifa I don't like, but they're not the Ku Klux Klan. They're not they're not the neo-Nazi party or anything like that. The FBI has already did studies that they're not a threat compared to the Ku Klux Klan or anything like that. Black Lives Matter started because of police brutality of people of color, mainly African American men, people like me. The death of George Floyd got whites and blacks together, and that's a good thing, is to get blacks and whites together, and they did burn things down in the first week or so, first couple of days after George Floyd's death, and that's too bad. And my condolences to people who got their buildings burnt down. But you got to understand the frustration, and it wasn't just black people that burnt buildings down. It was blacks and whites that burnt buildings down. But there were more peaceful protests after that than they were protests of violence. And we have a right as American citizens to protest. You know, the people in Michigan who wanted to reopen the businesses during a pandemic because Donald Trump told them on Twitter to open in Minnesota, Michigan, and other places. And they had guns in a Michigan government center, and they were putting guns in the faces of the police, and the majority of them were white people. And you know, they didn't get arrested. If a black person, like the Black Panther Party, who had guns in the 60s, put a gun in a white person's face, they would end up dead. Not, you know, arrested, they would end up dead. So, you know, there are a lot of right-wing people that had their protests to reopen the businesses during a pandemic, but, you know, it's going crazy, and I think there is going to be a race riot. But I think we as Americans are strong people, and I think we as Americans do the right thing in the end. And it's your duty to vote. It's your duty to vote by any means necessary. We should have as many people who turn to progressivism, and that's what we need to do. We really need to do this, and I really want to make these videos. And you know, I'm just a regular guy. I'm not anyone special, but I strongly believe in voting, and I want people to vote this November, as many as possible, and not participate. And even if Trump does win again, and he's going to win by cheating, you know, we have the votes, and we can expose Trump and say, hey, you know, there were a lot of people that voted, and maybe Congress would do something about it because they realized that Trump cheated. Just like George Bush cheated, G.W. Bush cheated twice, in 2001 and 2006. And so I know it's very frustrating when people vote for someone they like and they don't make it. And people who voted for Bernie Sanders, and I voted for Bernie Sanders in January of this year, and I really was very upset that he didn't get the delegates that he needed, but that's life. You know, you do the best you can with a two-party system, and at least we can, you know, with Joe Biden, who I don't agree with at all, or Kamala Harris, who I don't agree with, we can at least work with them, and it's better than nothing. Because if we get another 4 years of Trump, he's going to have as many right-wing judges as possible to, and, you know, people like us, you know, poor people and people of color and women and gays and lesbians are going to end up in prison or jail. So I want you to take these things to heart, and it's very important to vote through, if you do it through mail or practice social distancing. And so, you know, I guess my 15 minutes are up, and my dream is to have the biggest turnout in a long time. And please take this in consideration, and I want to thank you very much, and maybe I'll do another video in the future. Okay.